That's a problem.
Oh, okay. Let me look at that. Be on my phone.
Did you ask the question?
Can she insert it or?
Oh, I think they're good.
I think it's your podcast.
Then do whatever you want. Do whatever you want.
How much time do we have, Marcella?
And we're not going to talk about all the times we made mistakes.
One thing I learned from you, Marcella, is that in leading, that you really need the whole story.
The accusation almost becomes a conviction.
When you're in a service industry, the people are the most important.
I think it's a great thing to have an open door policy, but I also think it's a great thing to communicate to your people what that really means.
Some way to validate you're very important to me.
I need to have all the research, and I need to give that other person time to think about it.
Yeah. Welcome to 50% with Marcelle Combs. My name is Deantha Grattan, and I'm the co-host for my good friend and mentor, Marcelle. On this podcast, she will travel a journey of leadership with each guest as she analyzes the ingredients that lead women to their current role. Marcelle's goal is for you to walk away with tools to support your very own journey, no matter where your current destination is today.
Hello, Deantha.
Hi, Marcelle. How are
Should
you?
we do that again? You were reading
I don't know. Where am I
something.
going with it?
Hello, Deantha.
Hi, Marcelle. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Life's interesting.
Every day.
Who do we have today? Every day.
Every day. We have Amy Summers, and this gal is an entrepreneur, communications expert, and is the recent author of a new book called Lift.
She says that she was a pioneer in remote work. So I think that's because she had a big office in New York City or Florida, and she had a big rent, and then the economy went south from 2007 to about 2010.
Yeah.
And so therefore she had to start again, and then she started people versus property.
Yeah.
And had all remote workers, when at that time with her kind of job, there really weren't remote workers. Now we've seen a total change in that from 2020, but this was a time where in your or my world, home health and hospice, we always had remote workers because they were going to their home. But in the business world, it was very unusual for people to work remote.
Oh, gosh, what a time. You know, she was really a pioneer in that field ahead of us, and so has a lot to say about mentoring in that time.
Well, let's go to Amy.
Okay.
Welcome, Amy, to 50% with Marcelle Combs. We're so glad to have you today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Florida, huh? I don't know that everyone would say that Florida is a southern state.
I knew you were going to say that. Well, when you grew up with Southern living and all of that stuff, then you felt like you were Southern.
Even if you weren't. Okay, let me ask you, was there ever a time in your career, because I know you've had your own business for 20 years now, was there some decision you made that just moved you forward to where you are today, or reshaped how you looked at things?
Probably the thing that rocked my business the most was the financial crisis that we had in 2008, going way back. The financial crisis we had in 2008, the Great Recession we had. It was such a long period of time that was running. It wasn't a quick thing. It wasn't an in and out. It felt like several years. And it was something as a business owner that I thought that I could pull out of eventually, as I was on some kind of track that other people thought that I should be on to be a success. And in the end, I had to eventually let go each of my employees and start my business with just myself, which is how I started it in the first place. And at that point, it really rocked me to my core, because when you have a small business, people that are working for you are like family, and it's hard to let them go because of a financial decision, because you can't afford them. So at that point, I decided I'm never gonna let a mortgage payment or a big building or something like that be more important than a person. And so in 2010, I started my business in 2003. Everything was going well until 2008 was getting a little shaky. 2009 was bad. In 2010, I was back into just my home office again. Gave up the office building and everything. And at that point, I realized if I'm going to rebuild my business, I'm going to do it remote. So at that point, 2010, remote, some people were doing it, but it wasn't a general practice. It was very hard to find people that even wanted to work for me because most people wanted to work in an office. But I would say
the world changed from then.
I would say really trying to figure out how to run remote teams and to stay connected with your team in a remote environment has probably been the most pivotal thing that really allowed me as a small business to have more success, because then I could really focus on growth and not focus on all the things I had to, all the structural things that you would have to pay for. So I just got rid of the building. But I think just alleviating that stress and then knowing moving forward that people first in my business, I'm going to take care of my people first. And it allowed me to really do that when I got rid of all the things that I thought made you a success, the nice office, all those kind of status things. I realized I didn't really need them for the type of service business that I was in. Now, some people do need a building, they have to store stuff, but in the service business, I was in as a publicist and running a PR agency, I realized we just need a phone and a computer. That's all we need.
The way you describe you seem so much like a Gen Xer.
Oh, yes.
I started to say, because you just figure it out yourself. And there was never a problem you couldn't figure out yourself. Oh, my word, that's classic. But you must fall in that generation.
Oh, absolutely.
Or right on the edge.
Yeah, your parents would leave very early. My parents would leave very early for work, and they would leave a note for the day, like go to school, and then when you get home, make dinner and take care of your brother and all the things that you have to do. And we just, and don't watch any TV, and you're not allowed to do this, and you have to stay outside. So yeah, we were definitely the generation that just figured things out.
I just wonder if you really did not watch any TV and stayed outside, or if your brother told on you. That would probably be the answer.
My mom tells this funny story. When MTV first came out, her and the other parents got together, the other mothers, and decided that this was going to be a terrible thing for us, because it was going to ruin our imaginations, because we would know what the music meant now once we saw the music videos. So she was pretty strict about it. I mean, we didn't really watch a lot of TV. I remember the moments I was allowed to watch TV very specifically, but no, for the most part, we had to, find something to do. And I think that that's probably why my generation tends to be very creative.
Yeah. Let's go back to your PR firm. And I know you've written a book, but you do PR, but you also talk a lot about how you learn to manage remote teams. What do you think are the keys to making those work?
Well, there's a lot of things that you have to do when you're remote, because you're not by default around people. Connection, you have to be very cognizant about connection. Communication skills, I think, really wane when you are on remote teams, because we rely a lot on our devices and sending messages to people, but not making an impromptu phone call. When you're in office, you run into people and you talk to them, and you're building those confidence skills of having to answer on the spot and not run your responses through ChatGPT before you send them to your boss. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen in an office environment that just by default, you're going to learn how to play well with others, just as if you would send your child off to preschool. I mean, if you had to send your child to preschool on Zoom and they would never be in any classroom setting, it would probably be a disaster. But that's basically what we're doing in the workplace right now. We have students that are doing school on Zoom for the most part when they're in college, and then maybe their internship was also on Zoom, and then they get into the working world and they're still mainly on Zoom. So we're not really teaching people how to interact with others, how to have good communication skills. And so when you are in a remote setting, you have to be hyper sensitive to that, and you have to work on skill building on things that may seem simple to somebody that had that experience, of in-person and in, the office experience, because they just learned what I call like mentorship by osmosis. They were just there and they just absorbed everything. But if you don't have that experience, you have to teach it. I mean, I have to teach people how to use the telephone. I mean, it sounds really, it sounds extreme, but I mean, that's where we're at right now. It's true.
If a person is an entrepreneur and they're starting their business and they want to do what you've done, they want to keep obviously costs down as much as possible and people over places, where would you start when you did a new hire? And let's say that new hire is a new college grad, because you love those, because they have fresh ideas and the world hasn't beaten them down yet and told them they couldn't, but they don't have that skill. Where do you start with that?
Great question. So in my book, Lift, it's touch point number 2. It's set, structure, and goals. I think that sounds simple maybe to many people, but for a lot of people, they've never had structure and goals. And if they were doing school online, I mean, you would be amazed if they're doing virtual classes. Sometimes there's not set times they even have to show up. They just turn in assignments before midnight. I was doing an interview with a student for our internship program, and she was telling me, she was going on and on about how she loved this class and how great her professor was. And I was like, oh, well, what's your professor's name? And she's like, wait a minute, hang on. She had to go find it. She didn't know her professor's name. And that shocked me because she didn't know it because it was a virtual class. And so she wasn't interacting with the professor. She was just sending in assignments. So it's when they come in, don't assume that they know time management, that they know how to achieve a goal. And so if you can set structure and goals and then have them achieve those goals in a short time period, not a long time period, not like, okay, we're going to see you back here in 3 months and do a quarterly review, every week, every 2 weeks, let's see where they're at. That's going to teach them how to get into a rhythm of structure and goals, because they don't have a lot of structure. We live in a very structureless environment now. We don't even have to wait in line at Starbucks.
Let's say you're setting up a new line of business, and these are new positions. How do you decide, which is a big struggle? I own a consulting company that consults in healthcare too, and the biggest thing is on productivity with consultants. How do you decide how much is enough and how much is too much?
Well, everybody's different. You will notice a pattern. So if you're leading a team, you'll know, even if they're not working with you in the office, as far as productivity goes, you'll know if somebody's working or not. But that's why you need to set short-term goals, because you'll learn after a while, if their productivity is not up to a certain level, they may not be working as hard as the rest of the team. So when you set the same structure and goals for every team member, you'll see the ones that shine, and some shine really bright, and some are just okay. But the ones that are not working, it's going to be really obvious that they're not. And it's going to be uncomfortable for them and for you. But that's, again, something that I address in the book, because you have to help put that structure together. It can't be so loose that you don't know what's going on. And you need to put incentives. So you need to know what's going to incentivize a person to reach the goals. Is it a bonus? I mean, I bonus out my team every 2 weeks. They hit goals, they make bonuses. I give bonuses at the end of the year just to be nice, but I do it all year long because I'm not in an office with them. I can't, monitor them all day. So I need to give them a reason to make it more exciting. You can also have games and other things. I found at the end of the day, money just works fine. So most people don't like playing games.
It's a love-hate relationship with games. They love playing them once they play them, but they hate to think about it beforehand.
Yes. And then I think you touched on bandwidth a little bit. And that's something, your ability as a leader to manage a lot of things might be a lot more than somebody who's just new. So you have to remember that. And also, if it's your company, they're not going to be as passionate about it as you are. So you have to weigh all of those things, and you have to check in. You have to check in with people, ask them, how are things going? Am I giving you too many assignments? What's working? What's not working? If it's taking someone a long time to do something, ask them. Check in with them verbally and ask, not on text. You're going to find out a lot more when you hear their voice, what they're struggling with. Maybe they're just having a bad day, but you're not going to find that out through messaging back and forth because they're not going to tell you.
Yeah, and it can be so misinterpreted. You can read a text and I can read it and think there's nothing wrong with it, and another person can read it and say, "Can you believe they said that?" And I'll be like, "What? What did they say? I didn't get it. Should we be upset about this?" It's usually because I live somewhere up in the clouds and I'm not easily offended by most things. When you're working with people, especially mentoring them, what's your biggest struggle in that? Where's been the wall that you have hit with any given person? Where do you just give up on mentoring them, and where do you push forward?
Well, I never give up on anyone. Some people may give up on me. Some people might be like, "Well, this lady stopped texting me." But I think with mentoring, I think the hard part about it is that it is time consuming. It takes time. Why does it take time? Because it's relationship building.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go into a marriage and you don't plan on spending any time on the relationship, it's probably not going to last very long. So that's no different than our relationships with our partners or our children or family members. Your relationships at work are the same. You've got to put some work into it. Your team needs to see you as a human being. That means that you're going to have to talk to them. You're going to have to carve out time to do that. I mean, we are running at such a fast pace. I have to catch myself all the time because I feel like in my head, I'll hear a voice say, "You don't have time to pick up the phone and check in with them and see how they're doing. Just send them a quick message so that you can get to your to-do list." But if I run at that pace, I find that I run through people faster. And in the long run, that's cost me a lot more time because then I'm hiring people all the time because nobody wants to work for me because there's no connectivity. Mentorship is time consuming, but it is also part of the job. And has always been part of the job. It's only been recently where we're saying, okay, we have a mentorship program, or this is the hour you're going to be mentored. But we're mentoring all the time. Whether you call yourself a mentor or not, you're modeling behavior, actions. I mean, that's like a parent saying, I'm parenting and I'm not parenting. You're never not parenting. They're always watching you, and they're going to repeat everything that you say and do. Bosses are the same way. We're doing it. It's just that in today's very fast, hyper-connected, environment, we have put mentoring in a box like it's a separate thing, but it's not. It's just the relationship that you have with your team, and you're always mentoring them, good or bad, whether you call it that or not.
So I know you've done some work on a virtual platform for mentoring. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I started INICIVOX platform in 2020 just because I have a pretty robust internship program at Pitch Publicity, but I obviously couldn't mentor everybody. And what I was recognizing was, and ironically it happened, right during the pandemic that I launched it, but I had thought of it before. I was seeing this coming, that there was just such a need for young students, in college to get mentored, and gone are the days that you could just go grab coffee with somebody. It just wasn't happening anymore. So I launched INICIVOX as a way for anybody to be mentored in a virtual setting. So on that platform, I have a lot of quick communication tips that people can get through my microcast, but we also run virtual events. We have one coming up later this month where I'll bring in other professionals and allow people to come in on a Zoom webinar and ask questions and get mentored, because I really believe that mentorship comes in many different forms, and a lot of people have this romantic idea about mentorship that you have to have a long relationship with somebody and it's someone you meet over coffee and for a long time, but that's not true. We can be mentored, in a moment. Just in a moment, we can be mentored. Somebody opens a door for you. You're being mentored. Somebody's listening to your podcast, Marcel, and you don't even know them, but they got some kind of advice from all this great content that you're putting together. you're mentoring thousands of people that you don't even know. So, somebody picks up a book and reads a book, they're being mentored. So there's many forms of mentorship, and I wanted to show that through INICIVOX, that you didn't have to just have this, long-term relationship with somebody. I wanted people to recognize that mentorship is all around us, and it's very rewarding. So the busy professionals I bring in for our mentorship sessions, our SkillShare sessions, for example, they only spend 45 minutes. They give a lot of advice, answer a lot of questions. Every time, after every session, they all come back to me and say, that was so rewarding. It's rewarding to give back. And so we need to remember that's mentorship might be time consuming, but we can do it in a moment. And the reward is so high. It's so rewarding to help someone. And then later, you may never know how you affected someone's life. They're going to come back to you later and say, I saw you speak one time and you said something that absolutely changed my whole career path, and I owe it to you. And that's really valuable.
Let me ask you the question of 2026. How do you see AI changing this? Do you see it enhancing it, hurting it? How do you see it changing?
It's going to create a demand for it, because it's just more technology. It's just more technology. And the more technology we have, the less human touch we have. And we need human touch. We were all wired to be in relationships with human beings. So the more technology we put out there to mimic what we're doing, it strips away our humanity. So if anything, this is more vital now. Yes, it's a great assist. It makes everything go faster, but really, how much faster do we want to go? We have to slow down. We have to treat people, like human beings if we want to, really have productivity and success in our teams. We have to know that they're cared about and that they're part of something, that they're not just a cog in the machine.
Great thoughts, Amy. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time. And is there any last statement or viewpoint you want to make sure that our audience hears?
I would just say, start being more aware of your leadership and leading with a mentorship approach. So in my book, Lift 10 Mentorship Touchpoints to Empower Your Team and Accelerate Your Career, I give various touch points. And that's all they are. It's really not a heavy lift. It's just a touch point. You don't have to, join a program or get on a board to be a mentor. It's not a title. You're doing it every day. Just be aware of it and take those opportunities. Someone, writes in, I can't work today because I'm sick. Stop what you're doing and call them. Hey, I want to make sure you're okay. Is there anything I can do to help? You don't know. So they may not have anybody in their life that's doing that for them. And it can make a huge difference. Just something as simple as that, just the human touch.
Perfect. Well, Amy, thank you so much first for the work that you're doing. And that it sounds like you have a corner on how to do this and do this well. And so I know people are going to really enjoy reaching out to get your book. How can people get in touch with you? We'll also include it in the show notes, but tell us if someone has a question for you, how they would do that, and where they would buy your book.
Sure. Well, the best way to reach me is on my website, lifttolead.com. And the book is available anywhere where you can buy books online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the online retailers. Okay. And if they're interested in the mentorship platform you brought up, it's INICIVOX.com, INICIVOX.com, and it's a free platform. So I hope to connect with you soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Amy, and you have a wonderful day.